If you're someone that wants to get into a newsletter, what you find almost immediately is this is a lot of fun and creative, and you get through this exciting thing, and then the dip happens and it becomes work. My advice is I felt the excitement and I felt the dip, but I was like, I'm doing something that I really do want to do. How do I make this easy?
Hey everyone, welcome to Virtual Coffee Break with Bubble Up. I'm your host, Krista, and today I'm interviewing Wade Sellers, location independent entrepreneur and the app guy. So welcome, Wade.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. What are you drinking over there?
We've got a little Turkish coffee going on. I am quarantined in Istanbul for the last month or so, and probably for at least another month or two.
Very cool. Istanbul, from what I've seen on your social media, it seems like actually a pretty dope place to be quarantined. Yeah?
Yeah, this is not terrible. I have an awesome Airbnb, great spot to get work done. Yeah, I'm just keeping the machine going for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so speaking of machines, for anybody who doesn't know Wade, first of all, you should know Wade. Wade is a machine. Like I said, he's a location independent entrepreneur. And when I said before, he's the app guy, what I meant by that is he literally has his hands in like all things apps. So specifically, he's got a newsletter, which is what I wanted to talk to him about today. His newsletter is called Apps Weekly, and every week, if you sign up, you will get news, reviews, and how-tos on all things apps.
Yep.
So Wade's got a whole system on how he organizes that newsletter, and he's super consistent with publishing it. It's always loaded with really great content, so definitely sign up if you haven't already. Wade, I wanted to start off this coffee break by asking you a little bit about how did you get started with an app newsletter and why? Where did this passion for apps come from?
For sure. So thanks for having me. This is awesome. So I've been an app developer for 5 years. That's where this kind of all started out, with a career jump into app development. I started at a boot camp, and I started working for startups. I worked as high as GoPro on a video editing app. And all this time I've been in app building and helping people build apps. And at the same time, I'm just always researching. I'm geeking out about apps. I'm trying new stuff and learning the news and the stories behind apps. I just kept going, and I just kind of got to a point where it's like, I should share this out. I feel like I am like grabbing a lot of information and people are missing some of the cool parts, and I'm the person that's doing the legwork to research. I should share this out. And a way that I thought of that I could do with like time management and such would be a newsletter. I like to write and make some content. So I created Apps Weekly 2 months ago. And ever since then, it's been an awesome journey about learning how to build newsletters, learning how to do them at a weekly frequency. And then, like you said, how do you organize this and actually put it like into your professional and daily life? And so I feel like I've figured out some things along the way that I probably could share in here. Yeah.
Great. I don't have my own newsletter, but I can imagine that with the abundance of information that's out there, and like we're always consuming, right? And if you kind of tell the internet the things that you're interested in, you probably get advertisements and content fed to you about apps all the time. So
Absolutely.
I can imagine that it would be a challenge to keep that stuff organized. So for anybody who is also interested in, being an entrepreneur or having their own newsletter, what advice can you give them to keep all of that information organized and ready to access?
So the thing that worked for me so far is when I started this, I was quite disorganized. I'm passively researching is what I found. I see an article or an Instagram ad or a sponsor for a YouTube video. I get information on apps in so many different ways. And in the beginning, I was like saving that video to a YouTube playlist and then writing something in my notepad and then taking a screenshot. And that's in my Photos app. And I just kept finding that when I sat down to create the newsletter, I had like everything was everywhere. I was so disorganized. So that was my spot to be like, okay, I have to figure out a better system. I was using Bubble Up a little bit, and then it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, I could probably use a Bubble Up folder for this stuff. And as I started doing it more and more, I kept finding more ways that I could get things into Bubble Up. And so my organization honestly is I'm looking at things passively through the week. things are coming my way, no matter what it is, from a YouTube video to a news article in a news app to Google to anywhere. I always have like the share feature, or I can send the link over, or I can email a link. If I got something in an email newsletter, I can put it all in Bubble Up. And then when I sit down to do my research, I just open up my Bubble Up folder and I see everything that's like came across me this week in different ways. And then I start curating the things that are like newsletter worthy, right? And then I put that over in my newsletter app, and now I move on. But that my organization is like, how do I get all the different stuff in one spot? So when I sit down, it's like I could spread it all out and be like, okay, this and that, and I need to look into this. And that's where like kind of Bubble Up has fit into this workflow, is it's the catch-all that I can then grab one place and put it somewhere else.
You had mentioned to me when we were talking earlier that it actually doesn't just stop with the newsletter. So when just curious, like you probably have people all ranges of interests. Like some people are maybe they're just curious, like what's the latest stuff, but you might have other people that are equally super passionate about
Oh
apps
yeah.
like you too. If you could talk a little bit more about how your content, you've kind of been able to repurpose it
Yeah.
well for those people.
So the other thing that actually happens with this as a byproduct of putting everything in Bubble Up, right, is some people just want to see the newsletter and they want to see the 4 or 7 topics, and maybe 1 or 2 of them are for them. And that's the purpose of the newsletter. I'm aggregating the information into one nice little neat spot with the highlights being there. But other people do geek out about apps. And I take 4 or 7 articles and put them in my newsletter, but I might have sold 20 or 25 that week. Well, the Bubble Up folder turns into kind of like the behind the scenes, because what I do is, if in the newsletter, it's like, if you want access to all the stuff that I'm seeing, then just join the Bubble Up folder. It's free, you just pop in, and now anyone can like see all of the stuff. Basically, they see my mess, right? They see like, okay, the YouTube video, they see the article, and they see the stuff in the newsletter, but they see all the other stuff. And some people, that's super interesting to them, to see the research that goes into it.
Definitely.
So it's handy. But I don't have to create anything special for that. There's no behind the scenes room. I'm just like, no, just come look at my folder. This is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of a really cool hack actually to sort of give even extra to the people that really want it, but you're literally not doing any extra work for it, but you're, yeah, just able to
Yeah,
give.
exactly. And then with each item in there, then there's a comment thread built into each one. So if someone finds something particularly interesting, they might put a comment in there. And then that's almost like an indicator for me that's like, maybe this is one that should be out there in the world. I should think about that. So it kind of like keeps the machine running at a little bit more intimate value, because now I'm getting consumer feedback based on my research that then gives me indicators of like, maybe that's something worth the newsletter's time.
Genius. Seriously, that's amazing. Yeah, totally. All right, so basically, if you guys, whoever's watching is interested in launching a newsletter, you can launch it the normal way, or you can launch it the Wade way. And if I had to choose, I don't know, I'd probably rather get the content the Wade way, because then if I'm really interested, I can actually almost like be a part of that planning process by leaving that feedback, and also like seeing the back end of your research and content.
For sure.
Genius.
I can definitely tell you, if you're someone that wants to get into a newsletter, what you find almost immediately is this is a lot of fun and creative, and you get through this exciting thing, and then the dip happens and it becomes work. And then you realize, oh, I actually have to slot out time in my already busy life to make this newsletter. And then most people stop kind of there. And my advice is, I felt the excitement and I felt the dip, but I was like, I'm doing something that I really do want to do. How do I make this easy? And it was all about like, simplify the workflow, make it easy on myself. And so then it was like, organize my stuff all in one spot. And then I use curated articles. So I'm not like inventing things. I'm doing research that I naturally do, and then putting up the highlights into a newsletter. To me, I write a title and a little blurb that I got from the article, just to kind of like give you a little piece of it. And then if you're interested, then dig in more. So my article has 4 to 7 entries, but that's not like 4 to 7 blog posts. That's 4 to 7 articles I would have read already. And then I write a couple sentences to let you know kind of what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, everyone, the machine Wade Sellers, definitely someone you want to learn from if you are going to launch a newsletter. I mean, it sounds like you've really got the whole 360 picture and just like offer value, value, value. So, which is what newsletters are all about, right?
Yeah, and
So,
it's a lot of fun. That's
yeah,
the thing too. That's what it's
yeah.
about for me. It's fun.
You're obviously having a lot of fun for sure. So for anybody who's watching again, if you have not yet signed up for Apps Weekly, make sure you do that. Make sure you follow Wade. And if you have any questions for Wade about newsletters in general, about apps, or about how he uses Bubble Up, then Wade, maybe you could tell the audience what's the best way to reach out to you.
For sure. The best way is Instagram. So if you go to Instagram, it's just apps with Wade. That's my user. DM me, tell me you came from this video, ask me anything you want. I geek out about this stuff hardcore. So just ask me anything and I will tell you anything I know.
Nice. All right. Definitely take him up on that offer. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, Wade. Hope to have you again soon. And cheers. Have
It
a
was a
good
pleasure.
day.
Cheers.
Bye. Thanks again.
See ya.
Bye.